Hello, and what is going on there? It is I, UngoCast, and I'm here today because I'm just making a quick little video that I thought would be interesting regarding Dragoncenter and performance numbers on my PC. So I recently took it apart and kind of dusted it off, reseated a bunch of the parts, repasted because I was getting some temp issues, and I had to reinstall Dragoncenter because it was making all of my RGB just completely poop the bed and not work at all. But now it's working again, so I have it set defaults just in case it starts messing up to just complete and utter just vomit colors. But what I did notice is with the new Dragoncenter has a nice cleaner interface, and I wanted to see what the performance numbers or temperature impacts it would have on various parameters, because right now I am unsure of what kind of changes that will bring about. So these are, you know, my parameters I'm looking at right now, and right now I have it on customize as my default setting, and that's sort of my baseline because that's what it set it to by default. And so I'm going to run the benchmark. Okay. And while that loads up, I'll just give you a little bit more backstory. So I recently updated Dragoncenter, which has all these like different presets and whatnot, in addition to the graphics card and fan curves and all that. And I already had a predefined fan curve in Afterburner, which is what I've been using to clock and monitor my software for a while. But with this new update that fixed my my RGB, right now it just looks like vomit. But before, it's like my motherboard little infinity mirror was not even lighting up, and this one was stuck on rainbow. But now it's fixed, but I have it set to rainbow just in case it does mess up again. At least it'll somewhat be matching, because before it was like, you know, red lights, everything except for the graphics card, which was rainbow. And that was very frustrating. But so I'm running a few tests, see if temperatures are affected by Dragoncenter, because one of the main things before this was that it was overriding my fan curves, and it was having them not run. So the pump fan I don't really care about, that'll run at what it feels like, but the CPU fan definitely, I hope, will ramp up when the temps on the CPU are getting hot. Because right now, of course, I'm running the benchmark. It just ran through that. I do have a couple of other things enabled, like the LED on my motherboard itself will tell me the CPU temperature in real time, which is nice. I got little Kung Fu Dragon there, and it'll tell me good job. Game Boost is disabled right now because this game doesn't support it. That's the PCIe 1 temperature. It doesn't have an exact GPU temperature, but that's fine because I can get it on here, which it's up to 57. Drop down to 40s because it's loading a new scene. And it looks like the fans are, in fact, working. You can hear them. Kind of hear them in there churning up. So it looks like the pump fan is going CPU fans. It says it's still going at 456, which when you're listening to it right now, you can definitely tell that it's running at a much higher speed than that. CPU, it's at 50. It's been, you know, it's let's see where it says CPU up top right there. Temperature is at 51%. That's interesting. I'm not sure what that means, but it's directly proportionate to degrees Celsius, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Looks like the core clock is running at what it was before, so it's around 2040, 2050, goes up to 2085. Memory clock still at 7600. Temperature hasn't reached above 60, so that means the fans are indeed working. CPU temperature is running at a cool 59 top, which is actually really good right now. Usually I average around 70 for both CPU and GPU when I'm running at like a full load. And it says 92%, 93% utilization. Oh, that's what's wrong. It has the degree Celsius and percent mixed up. So, while that's running, the fans are kicking in, so you can hear the case fans. That's what that sound is. Case fans going off. So those are working. The GPU fan is, of course, keeping it below 70 right now, which is really nice. It's only running at, says 32%, but I think the that's interesting. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to run a few more tests, but I'm gonna do this all in real time because right now Arthur's just kind of just killing a bunch of people. And wait, you can see my finger? Wow, that's interesting. So while this test is running, we're just gonna be looking at a couple numbers. Can I pause? No, that's not pause. What does this button do? I think that takes screenshots while I'm recording. Anyways, so while he's doing that, running off into the sunset, we'll keep on looking at the temperatures. So right here, we're reaching max utilization, CPU temperature stable. Doesn't look like anything really major has come out. I mean, CPU is only getting used 70%. It's not even breaking a sweat. GPU is running max load, as it should. Memory clock is fine. Core clock is fine. Temperatures are exceeding expectations. PCIe 1 doesn't get quite as hot as the GPU, and let's see what we got on our benchmark. So, end of the customized screen benchmark, I got 42, 116, and 87 average. So that's usually what I get in game. I mean, the lows are really annoying, but now let's see what I can do. I'm going to go ahead and quit the game because I don't want any sort of caching or that sort of thing. I don't know the term, but I don't want anything to be affected by, let's say, the game already running. So next thing I'm going to try is to exit Afterburner and run it again. So ideally what happens when I exit Afterburner, and just double checking, yes, all my tiles are on the bottom screen. It's not open anymore. Therefore, the fan curve is entirely set by Dragoncenter. So right now it looks like the GPU usage, not related to the temperature, but the GPU temperature right there is 44. I'm at customize right now, so let's go ahead and see what happens when I hit this cog here. It gives me an option for memory and just frequency, which is, I'm guessing, the core clock. And so with that off, it looks like the GPU temperature is not being controlled by the fans anymore. So it's just stuck at 45, meaning that it's passively cooling right now. The fans are not actively cooling it, at least so I believe. Now, I don't necessarily have to run the benchmark all the way here. I just want to make sure that it'll beat out what it was reaching before, which was around 63 degrees. And so we shall see, because right now GPU usage is low, but the temperature is going up. If it gets above 63, I'll just exit out of the game immediately and start running Afterburner, because I do not want my card to get fried. Not saying it will, but you know, just the idea of kind of being irresponsible with that is not something you want to do with a 2080 Ti. So I'm just running the benchmark right there, but we shall see the temperatures rise as the CPU usage, CPU temperature is, you know, staying pretty stable, 55. And the GPU temperature is still below 50, which is completely fine, but at idle it should definitely be, you know, below 40. So I'm guessing that this program does not interfere with the fan curve. Well, it used to. That's why I've not really been a fan of Dragoncenter, is because of how many iterations it took for it to work on my computer, which, you know, it's a Z390, it's got a 9th gen 9900K and a 2080 Ti. It's literally the meme build with a Z390 Godlike, which is one of the most expensive motherboards you can get. So now the benchmark's running, and look at those temps. So we're already hitting 65, 66, 67. So it's already reaching and exceeding, and like my case is quieter than ever, and so that definitely goes to show that it is on, maybe it's on its own curve, because the temperature, oh my goodness. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just cancel the tests because I have a couple other things I want to try out. So I'm gonna close that, exit the game, and go back to this menu. So I'm looking at my temperatures right now. It's at 57, 55, 54. Now if I set it to balanced, all right, set to balanced. I'm guessing this is just for, I'm not sure. It says for average users. GPU temperature 50. So the real question is, will this override my fan curve in Afterburner? And because right now I don't hear anything from the fans, and it's at 50 degrees, and so usually the fan should be running at least a little bit higher than not moving at all. Actually, you can see right there, the fans are, in fact, not moving at all. So I'm gonna start up Red Dead, and this is gonna be the easy test. You know, start up Red Dead. Looks like you can see in the reflection there, the game starting up. Fans are not spinning at all. So whatever curve I have set in Afterburner completely overrides Dragoncenter, even though the SDK in Dragoncenter says that it will override third party, but I guess considering that it is within itself, it won't override it. So that's good to know. So the first test I ran was in Customize, and I had Afterburner open. So ultimate test is I'm starting the, as you can see, loading screen right to there. If the fans don't start spinning once the test starts, then Afterburner has to be open. So that answers one of my questions I had about Dragoncenter, was that, do I need Afterburner still if Dragoncenter has all the functionality to control it? And the answer is right now an astonishing yes, unless perhaps I have to do a complete uninstall of Afterburner, which I don't want to do. And we'll see. The fans are still not spinning, so It's at 55 degrees. I'm gonna call that a fail. Even if this first thing comes up, which it is. Oh, fans are starting up now. Look at that. That's, they're at 69 degrees right now, 70 degrees. So we're at balanced right now with nothing else running. GPU's at 71 now. So they do spin up. Looking back at what I have left on the monitor screens, looks like it's at 70 degrees right now is what it's staying at. Let's see if it hits anything above 75 is where I'm gonna just have to cut it completely. I don't like running it hotter than 73, but we shall see. So CPU running at a cool 48, so Red Dead doesn't really affect that. I can run a 3D Mark benchmark just in case, but I don't want this video to be, you know, super long-winded. But hopefully that this is something you can kind of timestamp various things, because I'm not going to. But so far I've tested, this is, I did customize with and without Afterburner, and then this is balanced without Afterburner. So GPU temperature is 58 and CPU is staying at around 50. This scene, so Valentine, should be a little bit more intensive. Hopefully, I don't know. I might run 3D Mark for a more definitive test, but the fans are spinning, not very fast because it's more quiet, but they're not getting above 71. I think it's the hottest it's been. Core clock looks like it's around, says 1935 there. This is on balanced, 71 temp. Fan speeds are 600, so it's, you know, it's definitely getting there. CPU is not really working too hard. GPU's hitting 73 right now, and as you can see, it's on the most intensive part of the benchmark, so to speak, right now. Right now it's at 74. Fans aren't really kicking up too much. They're still pretty quiet. In fact, I'd be able to play with my speakers with how quiet the system's running right now. Normally if I'm running the games, I'll have my headsets in, or the volume will be super loud, but right now it's actually running quiet enough to where I don't need them. And GPU is hitting 75 right now, so I guess 75 is where it wants to keep it at or below, which I'm okay with. It's just a matter of why the fans don't work harder. Maybe that's not considered a super hot temperature. But they are in fact spinning, so that's good to see. My curve normally will override it and be running at 100% if it's anything above 60, I think, because at that point you should just have the fans blowing as hard as possible. But it does seem like I can lower that a bit, because right now it's hitting up to 76 is the hottest it's gotten. CPU is not even sweating at all. And final numbers, 46, slightly higher. It's, I mean, not noticeable difference. It might be slightly better in the minimum. Average, I forget if it's higher or lower, but it's all relatively ballpark undiscernible. The only difference right now that I'm experiencing is the fans are, you know, completely silent. And this is with the balanced mode set, so right now the GPU is cooling back down, and it looks like the fans are indeed still spinning. So that's balanced. Now I can do this just in case. So I'm going to open up Afterburner again, and you'll hear my GPU fan kick up to 100 because it's like, why are you running so hot? And there we go. So now it's actually accurately recording my fan percentage. I have it almost 1-to-1 to temperature, but it definitely spikes up hotter than 60. And so right now it's cooling down much faster. So GPU's at 47, CPU's at 40, so that's really good numbers, what I like to see. So I'm going to open up benchmark once more, I'm going to open up the game once more, and we shall see. So right now GPU temperature is at 45, which is to say that it's getting down to 44, and I think my fan curve's a little bit more aggressive. The question is the longevity of the fans going to be affected by this versus the GPU itself? Well, I think a fan is much easier to replace in the grand scheme of things than, you know, a die on a graphics card. And so go ahead and go to settings, graphics, run benchmark, and we shall get a completely different story. Now that my Afterburner is running, the fan curve is overridden by the Dragoncenter one with the Afterburner one, and it should be much more aggressive. So in addition to that, I didn't see any clocks higher than 2000, which is interesting that the balanced curve affects that significantly. And so we shall see. So right now, GPU temperature is about 43, and CPU is exactly the same. So it's running ambient internal temperature right now. Benchmark starts. And listen to that. So that's the sound of those fans spinning at 100% or so. So right now, GPU temperature is at 59, CPU at 49, drops down, running at a 1230. Oh, that's my cat. Hey, Vegas. Hop. As you can see, she's a loud and annoying cat, which you can go ahead and go on my bed. Yes. Running the benchmark. Fans are definitely running a lot harder, and temperatures show. I mean, it just spiked up to 63. Core clock is up to 2040, which I do believe is because it's being overridden by the Afterburner software, which is good. So right now it's hitting 2055, 2025 right now. So that's pretty on par with what I was running before. Of course, and there doesn't seem to be too much in terms of GPU temperature. Right now it's still at 60, which is the highest it's been. CPU is still at 55, so I think CPU overall is unaffected by the Dragoncenter software because of how the BIOS is set up in this computer, and kind of how that works. But the graphics card is heavily affected by your settings you have in Dragoncenter compared to Afterburner, especially if you have Afterburner closed, in which the fan curve is not nearly as aggressive as I'd like it to be. So right now, you know, I'm in the Saint Denis shootout robbery scene where you would expect it to be hitting 75 as before, but now it's hitting 63 with a core clock of 2040. So it's hitting a higher core clock and lower temperatures with Afterburner open. And that's to say that's because I've messed with the settings. I have it at a curve, and I've extensively done performance benchmarking to make sure it's a safe thing. Oh, that's new. I don't remember it looking like that. But that doesn't mean that this one's bad. It's just not something I feel comfortable running because, you know, when I have 95% GPU utilization at 65 degrees, that's nothing compared to, you know, a core clock of 1940 using 100% GPU utilization at 75 degrees. Like, across the board, it is better numbers, definitely. But we have a couple more tests I have planned, and right now we're just about to finish this one, so I'm not gonna run every single test, I don't think. The sound test, of course, the balance profile with Afterburner closed wins out hands down, but the temperature, core clock, and that definitely wins out with Afterburner open. And so as this one ends, this will be the real kind of test, because although it was a lower clock and higher temperature, we can kind of get an estimate of how the frame rate plays out. And of course, it's not the same every time because of it, but right here you can clearly see that the average is much higher, from 88 or so, what it was before, to an average of 92. And I think the first one I did with the customized screen and Afterburner open was around 90. Lower is lower, which is interesting because I think that the higher clock means that it gets throttled a bit more. The maximum FPS is significantly higher, at 128, and so clear winner here is Afterburner. So I'm gonna run a couple more tests. The one that's most important, which is extreme performance, excuse me, which I will go ahead and click that. It will activate, right? Yes, it is activated. And now we're running at extreme performance. And so I'm gonna keep Afterburner open for this one as well. And then last test I'll run is extreme performance with everything else closed. So as you can see right there, extreme performance does make a difference even when Afterburner's open, because it's actually forcing the CPU to run at default its boost clock of 5 gigahertz. And so that is one positive I've already noticed. Temperatures are ambient right now, 42 and 42 for both CPU and GPU. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Red Dead one more time. And, you know, ballpark numbers, we got low 40s for our minimum, the lower the worse, at an upward of around 45, 46 for our highest. Our average highs are between 112 and 128, with the balanced with Afterburner closed running at 112, while the Afterburner open balance ran at 128, and somewhere in between is the customized one with Afterburner open. And then Afterburner closed, I didn't even try the customized one because the temperatures were getting too hot for my own comfortability. And so now we're going to run extreme performance, which is to say whatever that means, with Afterburner open. So what I assume is going to happen is that the GPU is going to be controlled by Afterburner, while slight tweaks to the CPU frequency are going to improve it there. The temperature is still going to be throttled by the Afterburner fan software, therefore it's going to hit a high of, I would say, since it's extreme performance, air quotes you can't see me doing right now, it's going to ramp it up a little bit. I'm going to say estimate 68 degrees is the highest temperature it'll reach. CPU, I think, will hit higher than what I've been hitting, 50s, mid-low 50s before. I think it'll hit 60 on this benchmark. And as for the core clock, I think that will be, because I'm saying the GPU temperature is going up, that means it's working harder. I think it's going to go up a little bit. So before it was running 2040, 2055 pretty consistently. You can't tell because it's closed right now, but we shall see if it'll break 2080, I think is where it was running before when I had it on quote-unquote customized. So as the benchmark's running right now, it's currently in the Saint Denis or Lemoyne area, swamp area. And so fans, of course, are spinning. I can hear them. And temperatures are getting to 60. CPU temperature is 50 still. It's not really getting too much hotter. The GPU temperature is at 60, 92% usage. 2070 is the highest clock we've gotten thus far, but it hits around 2055 on average. Temperatures, CPU temperature, it has hit 70, it says, but I'm not too concerned with instantaneous spikes, for now at least. It's hitting 5 gigahertz, which is nice. Core clock is stable. It's at 62 right now. Drop down because it's loading the new scene, and we shall see. So Valentine scene right there. See, my CPU is getting worked a little bit more. I think in a more intensive test or real gameplay, it'll get up to 70 definitely. But right now it looks like they're both kind of idling around 60, 58. And once it loads this last scene, that'll be a real good indicator of the overall performance and temperature differences. So he's robbing the store, taking money out, fans are kicking in, temperature, core clock, still 2070 is the highest, still averaging 2040, 2025, 2055. Temperature going up to 62, which is not the hottest it's been, but we shall see. Temperature on the CPU is slowly rising, so that means that this area is definitely more CPU intensive. It's up to 60 now, which it was before in certain spikes, but now it's consistently sitting there, which I'm okay with. GPU is at 63, 64. Arthur is running through town, and he's shooting lawmen that are chasing him. CPU is stagnating at around 60. GPU is at 64 right now. It's really working hard. 2040 core clock. And 64 seems like the highest it's getting. 2070, I don't think it'll reach 2080 again. But that's okay. Anything above 2000 is a win. CPU temperatures are starting to stabilize. I think it's loaded in all its cache and whatever. I don't know the terminology. Don't judge me. But big explosion, people dying, etc. GPU's not hitting anything above 64, it seems like. So right there you have it. CPU temperature never hit above 60 during the test. I don't know what that 70 outlier is, but we shall see. core clock's running at expected values. The temperatures are all within safe parameters for, you know, playing for 8 hours in a day, that sort of thing. Not that I do that, but, you know, you just gotta keep it in mind. And so the low is better. It's average. The average is good. It's on par with our best readings, and the maximum is slightly below our previous one, which is interesting because we're on extreme performance. So what does that mean? Well, only one thing left we have to do. So I'm going to close out Afterburner. If I can close it up. There we go. I'm going to make sure it's closed. Going to make sure I'm on extreme performance mode. And then I'm going to open it up and run it one more time. If the temperature gets above 70 on the GPU, then we will conclude that it is most definitely not extreme performance, because performance, I would say 75% of performance, no, okay, that's a little much. 25% of performance is temperature related. I think that core clock, memory clock, those are what actually determine your performance, but temperature, and of course power, you know, there's a lot of things, but that's why I say 25%, because that's a fair amount, and it is something that you would definitely need to consider. And so what you're hearing right there is the case fan running, because of the CPU temperatures are getting all in a tizzy over being at 5 gigahertz constantly, which that's what it's rated for. But honestly, whenever I'm running at a full load, CPU load, it only goes up to 4.7. It doesn't actually boost all the way up to 5.0 very seldomly. I don't think any of the games I play ever boosted up to 5, which is what I want. So I might run this in addition to Afterburner, just to have that going for it. So right now, as you can see, the GPU fans are not spinning, so whatever the curve that Dragoncenter has for the graphics card is very conservative, or I should say very liberal, in the sense that it doesn't care if your graphics card gets hot. And so they're spinning now, as you can see. They're spinning to allow the GPU to get up to 66. And this is just in the first ambient Amberino Grizzlies area. So that's not a good sign for high performance, or extreme performance, I should say. Now we're in Bayou Noir in Lemoyne. So that's running. CPU's pretty much unfazed by all of this. It's been running around 50 to 60 depending on the preset, but I do like the extreme overclock because it puts my 9900 to 5, which is what it should be, and it forces that. I have ran it on the little, I can't tell, but there's a overclock sensor right there, that little spinny dial knob right there. And I have it set to 0 right now, because when I had it set to 2 or 3 or whatever, it was definitely overclocking to like 5.2 gigahertz, but at the same time it was getting up to like 75 degrees Celsius, and so I was not a fan of that. Hit 72 for a second there, which is borderline high for my own personal benchmarking, but I don't think that's necessarily a horrible speed. Definitely can hear the fan spinning a little bit harder, and that's to say that, you know, because of it, the temperature's getting up to 72. Now I don't have Afterburner open, so I can't monitor temperature over time, but as we can see here, we're hitting the last scene. CPU is at a steady 4.998, roughly 5. Core clock is at 2010. Temperature is 73. Core clock still 2010. Now this is where I'm going to pay attention very closely to the core clock, because this is lower than what my curve is in Afterburner. Temperatures are indeed hotter, getting up to 75 almost. It's a whole 10 degrees hotter. 2010 is what it's averaging. Fans are spinning higher, faster than before, but which of course I could monitor and go to the next page and look at the exact RPM of the fans, but I won't bother. I can hear them spinning faster. Temperatures at 75, which is my cutoff. Cannot get any hotter than that, which it is at its maximum temperature at a menial 2010. 1995 also, throttling around that much. And 75, it's not too bad. Definitely safe, quote unquote, but not the temperatures I'd want to get off of my own curve. So that's extreme performance right there. 2010 core clock, or boost clock I should say, 75 degrees, 5 gigahertz. CPU doesn't get above 60, so those temperatures are unaffected by this. But the graphics card, definitely want to keep Afterburner open so that the fan curve I have on that is better. Maybe there's something I can do in Dragoncenter to improve that. But as you can see here, we got the worst stats so far. Minimum's the lowest we've had. Maximum is below average, or average I should say. And the average FPS is below average. In fact, probably the worst average I've gotten so far. And why is that? It's running at a lower clock than my Afterburner overclock curve. It's running at a hotter temperature, which it still is. So I'm just going to go ahead and exit this benchmark real quick. And go ahead and open, wherever it may be, my Afterburner. And you shall hear those fans ramp up. So one thing I didn't try out is this gaming mode. That's the last thing I'll try out. So I'm going to have Afterburner open so that it can bring my temperatures down. I'm going to have extreme performance set so that I can set my CPU to 5. And then I'm going to open a game that it has support for in gaming mode, which is to say, it auto-tunes the games you are playing with the best possible visual and audio lighting settings and brings you a superior gaming experience. So what does that mean for Overwatch? System performance, true color, and Nahimic. So I think that's audio, peripheral RGB, and maybe some extreme setting for Overwatch. So I'm gonna open this up. Right there, you can see this is a Z390 Godlike Meg, and the worst family member of the Griffin family. But that's what it'll give you. It'll give you a good job whenever you start up. But I did add in a little display that says Game Boost Disabled for a split second there. And what I'm hoping happens is that when I start up Overwatch, which is one of the games that gaming mode is applied to, it will go ahead and cause that to kick in. Game on. Yes, it always does that. It doesn't do it for a game. Okay, and then as you see there, the CPU just jumped up to 76. 77. So that's telling. Definitely telling. Right now it's running at 75. What the heck? Why is it running so hot? Okay, drop down to 54. Game on. Okay. And good job. Game boost disabled. What? I'm playing Overwatch right now. And what was that temperature spike? Oh, Lord. Huh. Oh, and then for some reason, when I exited out, it canceled out of my Afterburner. Okay. So, CPU temperature. Oh, I didn't record it. Of course it didn't, because it exited out. Okay, I'll run it one more time. Run it one more time. Run it back. See that temperature? Goes up to 64, 69. There's a hysteresis I think I have on this. Okay. And is gaming mode enabled? Nope, still disabled. Game boost disabled. So that's not working. But what about the CPU temperatures? So that was weird. Definitely you make sure my fan is set to hardware control, or software control I should say. But it did spike up a little bit there. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit out. I'm gonna look at this. Whoops. So maybe it's the peripherals. I know that it'll change colors depending on what hero you are, but I don't know. Okay, look at that temperature again. Okay, running it. Okay. Huh. Strange outlier. Still recording all my data, still monitoring everything. GPU, which we shall now refer in game up here to the GPU temperature and the CPU temperature right there. So lighting of course is unaffected for now, but if I go to the practice range, it should change colors. So as you see there, I have some, which I've already known about this for a while, and let's just pick someone that has an obvious color. Deaver, my favorite. And everything is, all lit up for your movement, change your hero, your abilities, which, can use that, run into a wall. So right now my temperatures are fine, 49, 53, temperatures hitting 70, which is totally fine. Right now it's buttery smooth at 165, which is my max refresh on my monitor. And I'm slowly building to an ult. It looks like all this stuff is working fine. Temperature still 50 degrees. Game boost still disabled. That's disappointing. Running at 5 gigahertz. Let's see, my clock. It's tapering down right now. It's 1995, which is what I had it set when. That's what it was set to when it was on extreme by itself. So GPU just hit 73. GPU just hit 73. Well, that's because it's not spinning. That's because it's not spinning. So I'm gonna go ahead and Alt-Tab open. Have this. Why is this not controlling my fan? It's at 67, but it's not. Huh. Yeah, why is it? Okay. Fan. Custom fan curve. Okay. 3-degree hysteresis. Blah, blah, blah. So it's at 66, but why is this not working? Why is this not working? Huh. It won't let me set it to 100. It just gave up. It's at 65 right now, and it's only running at 30%. Huh. Well, that's not okay. Why is that happening now? Do I... Okay. Close this out. And I'm going to open it up again. I'm going to open it up, wherever it may be. There it is. I'm going to open it up. Target neutralized. Okay. And it's not ramping up. My fan is not. I have an idea. Okay. Exit to desktop. I'm going to try something. So right now. Oh, see, it just did it again. That makes sense now. So gaming mode effectively overrides your Afterburner settings and sets them to the extreme overclocking settings. So if I were to, let's say, disable just the Overwatch one. Oh, the gaming boost. I know what that is. That's down there. Okay, so that's irrelevant. So I'm going to go ahead and change that later. But let's take Overwatch off the list. Hit play. And then we'll see what happens. So now that Overwatch is no longer on the gaming mode list, it should have better temperatures. So I'm going to go back to the practice range. If I get above 70, it's an automatic fail. 73, I should say. If it gets 70, that's normal, but 73. So colors are all fine. Completely unaffected by the whole, by the gaming mode or whatever. So I'm just gonna build, and of course they're all have the little proprietary yellow and blue lighting, whatever. Blah blah blah. But I'm gonna go ahead and keep this running while I look at the temperatures. Temperatures are, you know, I can just show you up here. 63, 64, 63. So it's not going up. It's fluctuating between 63 and 64. And that's to say that with gaming mode off, you know, it's going to... Why is this so bright? Can I, like, change the lighting, maybe? Whatever. And so temperatures still at 64, meaning that gaming mode, or whatever it was called, effectively overrides Afterburner and completely renders your temperature curves useless. And so, you know, I'm at 64 right now. CPU is at a cool 50. Not really getting too much hotter than that. My core clock's back to what it was at a buttery smooth 165. Now, last thing we gotta do is launch one. And, double kill. Whatever. We shall see. But that should be it. I think that's about it. Yeah. So, in conclusion, that's valuable information. Man, what is up with this lighting? Oh, it's on racing mode right now. Watch this. Bam. And then I go to my Chrome, and then suddenly everything is blue. Wait, let me go to Google. Google. There. So now it's running, but it's got like this weird blue hue to it. I don't know if you can notice that. But if I go to blue filter, turn it to level 1, it turns all orange, then turn it off, it like fixes it. It's no longer super blue. Weird thing. I don't know how that is related, but... So that concludes my testing and my review. I should say that gaming mode is a big no-no. In fact, I'm going to turn each one off individually and then disable it and then refresh, because that is horrible. Scenario, extreme performance, that's perfectly fine. I can run cool temperatures, sub 40s, with a 5 gigahertz overclock or core boost clock on my CPU, with 2055 core boost clock on my GPU. It's got a nice interface to it. Not as good as the Afterburner's time log, though. I like the over time graph. This is useful somewhat, but this has everything I need on it. So in conclusion, main reason is so I could fix my RGB. Gotta change the dynamic dashboard so that it doesn't show game boost anymore. Apply. Right now I just have the PCIe 1 temperature, but I don't know what else to put on. Like fan speed, probably. Probably CPU fan speed. CPU voltage, maybe. I don't know. Hardware status. Yeah. So I'll just apply it like that. But that's Gaming Center for you. It's just came out with a new update that let me finally fix my RGB. So I'm going to set it to something that is much more appealing than some just RGB puke wave, which you can't really tell because this monitor is looking right at it. So I'm going to face it away from the monitor so you can see it like that. Let's see. So what can I do? I can select all to sync everything except for the RAM, because the RAM is controlled by something else. Set it to marquee, blue, apply, et voila. Now that's a bit better, but ambient link is just for nothing. Assassin's Creed, I think, was the only thing I had it on. And then game sync, wonder if that works. Probably have to open Razer Synapse for that, but let's just go with something simple. Let's see what IQ. Go ahead and open that up. I have my RAM and my lighting node, so let's just go with Outrun Blue. So now I got like this kind of retro wave, pink and purple, pulsating. Let's open up. This is the tragedy of owning all of these different proprietary parts, is that they have their own app. So I go to lighting, select all. Oh, that's right. It didn't save anything I had. That's another wonderful thing about this software. So if I go to smart or audio, we'll do sync and have it, instead of those colors, make it red, red, blue, 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 indigo, indigo, and oh, that's right, it'll only play when there's audio. And let's go ahead and just change these ones. I'm going to do individually. This one shall be, I don't know, I'm just kind of messing around now. Okay, I'm gonna actually open up Razer. And this is kind of a little tutorial on having a million perifs. So Mystic Light audio meter. I wonder, no, it's not set. So if I hit game sync, this is gonna game sync. Oh, it did. Look at that. Now it's set to audio game sync. Is this looks like it is also. I do believe it is game synced. Okay. Now that that's connected, and that's connected, bada bing, bada bing. Oh, no, I just turned it off. Okay, turn it back on. It'll get to the dark blue when it's synced. And there you have it. So now I have it set to my Outrun collection matches. The game sync is to synchronize with Razer Synapse so that your mouse and keyboard and potentially your headset will all sync up to this. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this, exit out of this, exit out of that, and play some copywritten music so that I can get copywritten strike and not profit off of this hour-long video at all. No. So exit out of that, exit out of that. Okay, that's not really working. Let's play something a little bit more copywritten. Okay, maybe not. Maybe we'll just play some sick beat that is not copywritten, and I don't have to worry about it. So, let's go to my liked videos, blah, blah, blah. Just play some Hunter x Hunter. There you go. And so it's all synchronized now to the beat of that, which is cool, but that's not the coolest thing I can do. Coolest thing I can do is change my wallpaper to blah, blah, blah. There we go. Now that's synchronized to that and that. Oh, but we're not even finished yet. We're not even finished yet. Let's straighten that back up. Open up Philips Hue. Set it to music. Set it to my Outrun colors. And there we go. Now we're going full RGB. Well, thanks for watching.